Okay, so today we have Dr. Chris Finnin, who was generous enough to join me on my first attempt at these conversations. Um, Chris and I go way back. You were my professor my freshman year of college at Drexel
Yep.
University.
Yep.
And one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you first in doing this was because of one of the things that you said my freshman year was about taking risks and doing things that make you feel uncomfortable because you have the opportunity to do so then. So, the thing that inspired me to start to have these types of conversations was I volunteer at your class. We come and
Yep.
do the like talk about career journeys. And the questions that I get from the students are always super interesting. And so I figured I love having these conversations. I figured we'd have them publicly, and if people get anything from it, then that's great.
Yep.
So I'll just dive right into it. So tell me a little bit about yourself and your current role right now at Drexel.
Sure. Well, most importantly, thanks for having me. And I love the friendship we have. I love the relationship we have, and I really appreciate all that you do for us.
Thank
Um,
you.
so I'm in my 25th year teaching at Drexel, and the majority of my time is spent teaching students in their first and their second term at the university, helping them to try to figure out what major within business is right for them, whether it's marketing, finance, accounting, economics, whatever it might be. So that's, a big part of the class I teach, but then also a couple of other things that I think are really important about that is a chance to connect with alumni like yourself, a chance to build some relationships that may or may not lead to anything prosperous later on, but hopefully a chance for students just to realize that the world is out there for them. And by meeting the right people and making the right connections, maybe doors will open and they'll have opportunities. So another piece of my role, in addition to the teaching, is to help to facilitate some of those connections. The chance to connect you with other students of mine who may be able to help you, who you may be able to help, who may just have something in common and y'all just want to talk.
And is that the additional role that I saw you take on recently? Is that piece of it, something with experience with for the students?
Yep, so that's a piece of it. So less than a year ago, I moved into an additional role, which is the academic director for the first year experience.
Okay.
And in that role, I'm really responsible for helping to safeguard the best interests of students in their first year. And to me, safeguarding their interests really does a piece of that certainly is helping them to realize the importance of networking and again connecting with professionals who are out in the industry, out in the companies or the field where they think they may want to go to work someday.
That's great. So what it inspired you to pursue a career in education or higher education or
Yeah.
wherever what I don't know where exactly you started or what your goals
Yep.
were to start, but what inspired you there?
Yeah. So I was a kid who went to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, and all through grade school, all through middle school, all through high school, and for the first half of college, I didn't understand why I was there. I was not a very good student. I didn't really care about school. In 11th grade, I probably had the reading level of a fourth grader. I didn't put anything into it. And it wasn't until I was in my third year of undergrad at Kutztown that I had a marketing professor named Jim Ogden. And Dr. Ogden made class fun. He made the learning fun. He was someone that I genuinely wanted to talk to before, during, and after class. And that had never happened to me before. I had never had that situation. And in that moment, my third year of college as an undergrad, I went, I want to be like him. I want to teach college and I want the college classroom to be fun. I don't want it to be sit in the back of the room and sleep like every other college class had been for me. Um, and so that led me on a journey of getting the right industry experience, getting an MBA, meeting the right people to get an intro to teaching at Drexel, and here we are again. This is my 25th year at the university.
That makes sense. I mean, that sounds a lot like you. That you always had good relationships with the students. You're very engaging. So let me ask you this. So, and this is very abridged. If we had more time, we would talk about
Yeah,
your childhood too and the things that you
yeah,
mentioned. I think one of the reasons probably why we got along so well was also your self-deprecating nature along with mine. So the joke about you having a fourth grade reading
yeah,
level, I know you're underselling yourself, but so what? Let's move on to your role. You started at Drexel.
yep,
Since then, 25 years, huge milestone. What are some of the key milestones throughout your journey at Drexel, or things that you're proud of
yeah,
throughout?
sure. I came at this because I wanted to be a teacher. I didn't come at this because I wanted to, you know, fill out spreadsheets and do TPS reports, right, or whatever. I came at this because I wanted to be in the classroom. And I've received a number of really great teaching awards at the university. Um, a number of years ago now, probably 10 or so, I was named the top teaching faculty member at the university, and then just other things kind of along the way. But that's on the awards side, that's the that's the highest one for teaching faculty at the university, and I'm honored to have received it. But more importantly to me are in terms of accolades, the notes that I get from students at the end of the term or when they're nearing graduation or after they've graduated that say, you know, thanks for being a great teacher. Thanks for having my back. Thanks for making it hard, but showing me that I could do it and building an environment where you allowed that to happen. It's those notes that really mean more to me than a plaque or some cylinder or some cylinder award that sits on a desk somewhere and gathers dust. It's
That's
the
awesome.
it's the notes that mean more to me.
Okay, so switching gears a little bit, what about some challenges you faced, and how you
Yeah.
overcame them?
Right now in higher ed, it's a really, especially this year, it's a really interesting time. The Again, remember, I part of my role is to try to safeguard the interests of the students who are in their first year. And these are students who spent their freshman year of high school in their bedroom learning whatever it was you take in ninth grade of high school. And what that has turned into is, you took ninth grade math on your computer, maybe with a teacher who knew what they were doing teaching on Zoom, but a lot of the data suggests that we didn't. Um, it wasn't nearly as challenging for a big percentage of high school students, and a big percentage just didn't learn at the rate that they needed to, which caused them to fall behind. And that year is now upon us, and they're freshmen in college, and we're seeing those effects. We're seeing students who don't have the type of math skills that you would expect that they would have. Oh, yeah, they spent ninth grade in their bedroom where they had been since they were 4 years old. Um, Social skills, they spent a chunk of those very formative high school years at home on lockdown, behind a computer screen, behind their phone screen. And so social skills certainly begin to come into question a little bit. So, those are the two big things that I would say are challenges for me in my role is appreciating the difficulties that this particular class of students dealt with as a result of COVID lockdown and what has that done to them academically and socially
Yeah, COVID was a weird time, and education's evolving
for
as it
all of
is.
us.
So I'm sure,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so in the interest of time, I'm curious about like people who want to know outside of the classroom, like what's a
Yeah.
typical day look like for you in your role? Like what outside of you actually teaching the class, what
Yeah.
goes into the role of a professor?
Sure. So there are two very common pathways you could imagine in the role of a professor in college. The first one and the more traditional and the long-standing path is you earn a terminal degree in your area of discipline, marketing, finance, chemical engineering, whatever it is, and really become an expert in that piece of that piece of your subject matter.
Hmm.
So if you're a management faculty member, maybe you're an expert in teams. Or if you're an organic chemist, you're an expert in this particular aspect of organic chem. Publish, research, teach, continue through your career. I chose the alternate pathway, which is I entered Drexel with an MBA and some industry experience. Since then, I've earned a doctorate, but the majority of my time is spent teaching. And it's the opportunity to build relationships with students and be in the classroom with students that has been the pathway for me, as opposed to the pathway of I'm going to be a world-renowned expert in X.
Got
So
it.
those are the two pathways. And so what does that look like on a day-to-day for me is I'm really a classroom teacher, and I spend the majority of my time making sure that my classes are tuned in the way they need to be, that my students are progressing at the rates that they need to progress, and just ensuring that the objectives that I have in place for the class are being met.
Sure.
If not, what do I have to do to get us there? If they are, cool. What do I have to do to keep the train moving on time?
Okay. So now the potential namesake of what this video series or podcast is going to be called is If I Knew Then.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So
Cool.
if you could go back in time, what
Yep.
advice would you give your younger self? It doesn't have to be about like your specific career,
Yeah.
anything that you feel like you've learned over time,
Yep.
that you would go back and say, if I knew then, this is how I would approach this.
Yeah. I think the big thing that comes to mind for me right away, Anthony, is that I was a shy, only child kid who didn't really talk to grown-ups, whether that was, in high school, in college, early in my professional career. And I think that's, if I knew then what I know now, I would tell my younger self, like, go and really build relationships with people who are older than you, because the majority of them will want to help, is my experience. The majority of them are very open to say, yeah, like here's the 19 mistakes that I made, don't make them. Or, hey, try this out instead of what you're doing now. Um, I never took advantage of that. I never looked at previous supervisors or bosses as people that I could learn a lot from. I always thought of them as like a means to an end. You're going to tell me what I need to get done. I'm going to go get it done. You're going to give me something else to knock out. I'm going to knock it out. But connecting and building genuine relationships with people, I think, is what I would tell my younger self to try to really work on.
That's good advice. Um,
Thanks.
so what about like, okay, so now thinking forward looking,
Yeah.
um, do you have any future goals with your role at Drexel? Are you
Yep.
happy with where you are now and you feel like this is where you want to be? Is there anything else that you want to achieve or like a next
Yeah.
step for you?
So my biggest regret as an undergraduate student is I did not study abroad.
I hear you.
I I didn't go abroad, it was, oh, I have a job, I have a part-time job, oh, I don't have enough money, oh, I have a girlfriend, I can't go abroad. So the future for me, one of the big kind of goals that I have is for us as a college and a university to really get as many of our students abroad, whether that's for a 1 week quick experience, whether that's a term abroad, whether that's co-op abroad.
I love that.
Um, I really want to see more and more of our students, get abroad. And if I can get more and more students in their first year abroad, then it would be a massive win. So I just returned from co-teaching a course in Barcelona for a week. We had 35 students, and I think 16 of them were in their first year, third term of university. Um, so
That's awesome.
next year, if I can have 20 of them that are in their first year that kind of have a little sample of, what I think is like a gateway drug to
Yeah,
studying abroad.
to actually, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Like go abroad for a week. Let's see what it's all about. Oh, look, so what if they use slightly different money? And depending on where you go, maybe they drive on a different side of the road. And maybe you don't know how to say, I don't want sauce on my pasta. Who cares? You figure it out and you have a
Yeah,
great
I
experience otherwise.
totally agree. That's one thing I regret about college, and I always recommend that people consider it. I could come up with a ton of excuses, but I was very nervous to do that on my
Yeah.
own. But once I started traveling, I would say I became much more open-minded. I totally agree
Yeah.
with that recommendation. That's a
The
cool
only
goal.
body of water you and I were crossing was the Delaware River.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah, over the or just crossing the Ben Franklin or
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
yeah, just barely any
That was
the
it.
small bridges around Philly. Yep.
That was it. That was
Yep.
it.
All right. So thank you very much. This was a really cool conversation. I really appreciate this. Is there anything else you want to share or want to touch base on?
Yeah, I mean, I would just want to say thanks to you for coming out and being an active member of our LeBeau community. Uh, you make a huge positive impact on every visit you have, and I hope you know that. And I really appreciate it, and I know our students do. So I hope we can do it again soon.
Thank you very much. I love coming out. So thank you. As you can tell, I get uncomfortable with compliments, but oh, I do want to say I just want to make sure I give a shout out to one of your students, Josh Smiler, who gave me a ton of tips and pushed me to actually go through with this after you and
Excellent.
I spoke. So thank you very much. This was really cool. I'm really happy that you could be the first episode. So thank you very
Me
much.
too. Awesome. Good
All
luck.
right. Thank you.